Hi, I'm Jay Anderson, owner of Anderson Log Solutions, maker of Everlasting Logs.
Today I want to give you a short little video on how to install Everlasting Logs. Once your Tyvek's installed over top of your conventional built house, 2x4, 2x6 walls with your OSB securely fastened on it, we need a wire mesh backer to hang the Everlasting Logs. So we'll go ahead and get us a piece of wire mesh, get it cut to length to stick in here. We're going to sheet the whole side with wire mesh, then we'll start hanging the concrete Everlasting Logs on it. All right, you don't have to be real precise on this wire mesh stuff. You do want to be within about 1 inch from wherever you're going to be starting or stopping. The edge of your wall, at the ceiling, at the bottom when you start. Just wherever you go to, stay within 1 inch. Be careful when you're cutting it. All right, the next step is we're going to use an air nailer, a roofing nailer to put this on with. Use like 1 inch, 1.25 inch, 1.5 inch nail. Big thing is you just want to put enough nails in to hold it on there, just like what your manufacturer would tell you to do. All right, well that's securely fastened on there. That's what your mud's gonna stick to hold your concrete log on. We're also got brick ties that are in the concretes or embedded in them. So when we put them on there, we'll put a screw in there to hold them on until the mud dries. But this is actually what's gonna hold your logs on there. Okay, once we get the wire mesh installed on the wall and securely fastened on there, then we're gonna go ahead and start laying in the Everlasting Logs. Your very first one is gonna be a half log. That's where we make them. You don't have to cut anything on there other than your length of your distance to your next piece. This one I've already got cut, but as you can see on here, here's the half, the dovetail that'll come through on this end, and then we'll have a full dovetail going the opposite way. So what we're gonna do with this is on the back side of it, we're gonna put our mortar on the back side that's gonna hold it to the wire mesh, okay? Your mortar, you want about a consistency of almost like a real loose peanut butter. It's because you wanna be able to spread that on there, wiggle it onto the wire mesh to get a good adhesion on there. And you want to spread this probably about 3/8 of an inch thick. And like I say, you can see that it's kind of wet. It's wetter than what you'd want for laying brick, but you want to be able to spread it around and get it covered on there. Main thing is make sure you cover all the edges and everything. You just want to get as much adhesion as what you can on it. We're going to go ahead and put a little bit up here on the end, just to fill in that crack when we set it on there. Okay, once again, you want that mortar to adhere to the wire mesh in there. So what we're gonna do is set it in here. Give it a little wiggle around. We've installed these fasteners in here that'll hold it until it dries. You just leave them in there. You don't have to worry about coming back to take them out or anything like that. Now on these, when we put them in, we put these brick ties embedded in the concrete in there every so often. If it works out that you don't have another one in here like we've got in this situation, what we can do is we can drill this in the face with a 3/16 inch masonry bit first, because we're going to use a 3-inch exterior screw. We want to be able to countersink this head into the concrete so you don't even see that it's there. So we'll take a 5/16 inch masonry bit, drill about 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch into the face of the Everlasting Log. You don't want to over tighten these. Remember, this is not what's really holding the thing to the wall. It's your mortar that's holding it to the mesh that's going to be your bonding agent. Okay, now once we've got that half log, the starter log installed on the other side, on this other side we're going to come with a full width log, got the full dovetail on the end. The only thing that's unique in our situation here is that this is on the side of a building that's got a runoff for parking on it, okay? So we're going to have to cut an angle on the bottom side of this to keep the top side level coming through. And I'm going to show you how easy it is to cut. We're going to basically take about 1.5 inches off. That's our slope in this thing. You go to your local hardware, it's not even like a major purchase. Get yourself a diamond saw blade. Okay, it'll mount right into your skill saw. Okay, as you can see, you can pretty much cut it however you want to cut it. I mean, I just went from 1/4 inch to about 1.25 inches on there. Okay, now that we've got that angle cut off from there, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and flip our fasteners up out of here. They're embedded into the concrete, just bend them out straight. The one on the bottom we won't be able to get to, so we'll have to use another one of these screws or anything. So just go ahead and leave that one where it's at. Okay, then once again we're going to apply about 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch of our mortar on the back side. Now, if for some reason you've got a surface that's a little rougher, I mean, if you're going over like some old rough brick or something like that, go ahead and put 1/2 inch on there, you know, just enough to squiggle in to make sure it adheres good. One of the things about Everlasting Log Homes is that you can have the look of a rustic log home without all the maintenance that goes along with a traditional log home. If you've got a brick house, you can change the whole looks of a brick house in just a matter of about a week. Everlasting Logs gives you the chance to have that dream log home that you always wanted, but you didn't want all the hassle that went with it as far as the maintenance, the bugs, the warping, the settling, all that other stuff. Okay, once we get our screws in there, we can just leave it, walk away from it. As you can see, my helper finally showed up. Let me tell you a little bit about Everlasting Log. Down in the center of each one of these, we've got a piece of 3/8 inch rebar. Runs down through there for your structural support while you're handling them and stuff like that. We're going to go ahead and flip our tabs back up over to fasten it. And we're going to start putting on our mortar. Okay, well, another thing about Everlasting Logs is if you've added a traditional log home, you know that your insurance has skyrocketed on this. This being a non-flammable material, you put it on the exterior of your home, make sure you tell your insurance agent that you no longer have a wood structure on the exterior of your home, that it is a mortar or a concrete product, so your insurance rates will be cheaper. The installation of this stuff, we kind of designed it to be able to be installed by the do-it-yourselfer also. As you can see, I'm kind of short on help today, so I've had to do a lot of this myself. But if you've got a couple buddies that can pick these pieces up, stick them on the wall, you can stand there and run the drill, put the screws in them to fasten it. You can do it yourself. With a traditional log home, you had maintenance on it every single year. We're going to show you as we do this project, when we get to the staining part of it, that once you stain this with a concrete stain, you don't have to worry about it for years. In a traditional log home, if you've owned one or you've had wood exterior on your home, you know what I'm talking about now, that every year you've got to be doing something to it. And if you don't and you wait 5 years, then you've really got to be doing something to it. Put on Everlasting concrete log planks, get them stained the shade that you want it to be, put a sealer on it, and you're done. Walk away and just enjoy it. Because you got to remember, you don't have to worry about rotting, you don't have to worry about warping, you don't have to worry about settling. None of those things that go along with it. Get it on there and enjoy. Okay, now that we got the backs of it all with the mortar on it, we're going to go ahead and put it in. So again, we're going to stick it up on there, kind of wiggle it. One thing to remember now, we don't want these butt joints to be tight. Leave about 1/4 to 3/8 in there because you want to be able to mortar those up, brush it out to make it look like the wood grain that's in there. And then we'll put our screws in. Okay, As you can see here, I've got a gap between my steel wall on my building and where the end of this comes. What I'm going to do is put in a piece of our custom window trim. It's going to be a 4-inch piece. It's going to run up here. We'll be able to butt everything into it. I just want you to take a real quick look at this. This is our trim pieces that we're going to use around our windows and stuff. When we get to this window, I'll show you how that goes on. But right now, we're going to use it in the corner here to have something for our end of our logs to butt up into. But I want you to kind of take a look at this wood grain that's in here, because once we get this thing stained, this is going to look so much like wood. Your friends are going to come over and swear that it's wood, and you're going to have to tell them it's concrete. It's going to last forever. It's got the strength and the durability of concrete, rebar down inside of it, but it's not going to cause you a bunch of maintenance and hassle. We're going to go ahead and drill the holes in the surface on this before we ever put it up there. Now remember, we're going to use a 3-inch exterior screw, and what we're trying to do is countersink this head of this screw so you don't even see it. And when we get to that point, we're going to show you, but you're just going to take mortar and fill in the top part of this hole. You'll never even know it's there. So we're going to start out with our 3/16" masonry bit. I'm going to drill 3 holes, because all I got to do is hold it on there until the mud dries, so you don't have to overscrew it. All right, now we're going to switch over to the 5/16" bit. And remember, we're only going to go about 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch deep, just enough to get that head of that screw buried. Now that we've got our holes drilled in this and they're countersinking with our 5/16" bit, we'll put our mortar on the back of it and we'll be ready to install this. Just going to go ahead and wiggle it in a little bit, leave a little bit of gap between ours, and then we're going to go ahead and put in a 3-inch screw. Once again, you don't want to over tighten them. Just snug it down to where it draws it up next to the wire mesh. That'll give us a nice end to butt our planks up to and be able to chink up to them and have a nice end to come up into. As you can see, we've got all of our in-between pieces, our planks installed on here. We went ahead and put our window trim on here, custom windowsill that's on here with a 15-degree angle on it, so any water comes down, it's just going to run off. Now, once we get to this point, we're getting ready to start staining it. Be able to pick from a variety of stains of whatever you want, a lighter color, darker color, whatever you want to have. Then once we apply the stain, then we're going to go back through and chink the in-between joints with just a regular mortar, just like we used on the backs of these. But we're going to go ahead and put that in so it'll look like a traditional dovetail log home. With everlasting concrete log siding, one thing I want you to keep in mind too is that once you put this on there, get your stain on there and your seal on it, you're good to go, you're done. Remember that you're going to have a look of a log home that's going to be unmatched of any traditional log home that there is, because you're not going to have warpage, settling, or any of the other problems that have been associated with log homes. This is something that you can do on the exterior to give your home an exterior log home look. On the inside, you can do whatever. On this part of our cabin, we're going to actually put this on the inside. When you're ready to build your custom dream home, we're going to send you a package, and that package is going to include all your dovetails for your corners, all your window trim, all your window sills, and all your in-between planks that you're going to need for that. We customize that package so that you're not buying a bunch of extra stuff or anything like that. All of our dovetails come in 1-foot increments starting at 2 foot and going to 8. So they're going to come in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8-foot lengths that allows you to just go ahead and stick them on there. You don't have to worry about cutting nothing, just install them. You're going to be amazed at how fast this stuff goes up. If you're a contractor and you've got a crew of 3 or 4 guys, you can virtually do a whole house in a couple of days, because like with traditional stucco stone, you've got to wait and you can only go so far. With this, we put the screws in to fasten it. That's what holds it on until the mortar dries. So you can just keep right on going with it, cover the whole exterior of the home.
Now that we've got all of our planks installed, we've got all of our butt joints mortared, corners are all mortared in, now we're going to get to the exciting part. We're going to start to stain this. First step though is etching. Etching is very important, because what it does is it opens up the pores of the concrete, and any sweat or anything you've had on your hands, it's going to take that off from there. Very critical to do. So we're going to go ahead and etch this. There's a lot of etching solutions out there that are user friendly. Check around, find one that is, and then go ahead and use those. But we're going to go ahead and etch this. It won't take long to do that. Okay, apply the etching solution and just keep rubbing it back and forth till you see it start to quit foaming. Then what we're going to do is just give it a good rinse, let it dry, and we're ready to stain. Okay, so once we get our base coat on here, what we're going to do is we're just going to highlight it a little bit on the knots and different stuff with a darker shade. And what we're going to do is just put that on there and just brush it through. We're not trying to hit everything. All we're trying to do is just give it a little bit of highlight. You can do whatever you want to do. You can really play with this stuff now and have some fun with it. If you want to go with just one color on the whole thing, then just do that and be done. But if not, you can go around and just start hitting the knots on here and just darken them in a little bit. Then we're going to let this dry. We're going to come back and put one more top coat on it, and all it's going to do is just shade in these areas and just give it a little contrast going into it. Now that we've got everything stained to the color that we want it to be, we're going to go ahead and chink in between the logs. Basically all we're going to use is just a flat trowel and then an 1.5 inch trowel. You're going to end up with this about a 1/2 inch thick. As you're putting it in there, just kind of pack it in and keep coming across. When I start out, I start from the right and go to the left, so I've got to be left-handed, which is a little difficult sometimes. But once I get going, then I can go ahead and switch back to the right and then just start putting it in there. Then just come back, float it out, and that's as easy as what it gets right there. Okay, now that we've got all the chink joint done over here, what I want to do is show you on your exterior electrical boxes how we'll just be able to chink right up to them. What we did was the electrical boxes were at the surface of the OSB on the outside. We put an extension on there of 1.5 inches, drawed that box out through our electrician, and now we're just going to go and we're going to show you how to chink up to those so you can seal them all in. It'll look great. We're just going to pack a little bit more in and just round it in. It's going to seal it right in. You're going to be able to put your exterior lid over the outside of this, and it's going to be all weatherproof and sealed up with that. It'll blend right in. There you have it.